The period of the Dark Ages that began in Greece after the Doric invasion ended in 776 BC, when the first Olympic Games were held at Olympia. This period is considered the birth of a new ancient Greek civilization, now called Classical Greece. The period from the middle of the 8th to the middle of the 5th century BC is considered the archaic period of Greek history. This period began with a massive increase in the Greek population and significant changes that made the Greek world by the end of the 8th century BC completely unrecognizable from its beginning. Greeks settled throughout the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, as far west as Marseille and as far east as Trebizond, and by the end of the archaic period, they were part of a trade network that spanned the entire Mediterranean. The archaic period saw developments in Greek politics, economics, international relations, warfare, and culture. During the archaic period, the Greek alphabet was developed. The earliest surviving Greek literature was composed. Monumental sculpture and red figure pottery began in Greece, and the hoplite became the core of Greek armies. Politically, the archaic period saw the development of the polis, or city-state, as the dominant unit of political organization. And many cities throughout Greece came under the rule of autocratic leaders called tyrants. During the archaic period, tiny Greece expanded until its descendants peopled nearly every shore of the Mediterranean. In the course of their development, the irrepressible Hellenes spread to all the islands of the Aegean, to Crete, Rhodes, and Cyprus, to Egypt, Palestine, Syria, Mesopotamia, and Asia Minor, to the Sea of Marmara and the Black Sea, to the shores and peninsulas of the northern Aegean, to Italy, Gaul, Spain, Sicily, and North Africa. In all these regions, they built city-states, independent and diverse, and yet Greek. They spoke the Greek language, worshipped Greek gods, read and wrote Greek and wrote Greek literature, contributed to Greek science and philosophy, and practiced democracy in the Greek aristocratic manner. The most discouraging task faced by the historian of classic civilization is that of weaving into one pattern and story these scattered members of the body of Greece. We will try to do this by going on a tour. We will look at different cities in the Greek world and see what life was like before the Persian War. We will see how people lived, what they did for money and politics, what scientists and philosophers thought, what poets wrote, and what artists made. The plan has some flaws. The geographical sequence doesn't match the historical one. We'll be jumping from century to century and city to city. But when we finally reach Athens, we'll understand the rich variety of civilization that it inherited and preserved at Marathon. I'll start with Corinth. Corinth should have been the richest and most cultured city in Greece. Corinth was in a great spot on the isthmus. It could control access to or from the Peloponnese. It could facilitate trade between northern and southern Greece. And it had harbors and shipping on both the Saronic and the Corinthian Gulf. It built a wooden tramway along the Diolkos, a 4-mile route over land. Its fortress was the Acrocorinthus, a 2,000-foot-high mountain with its own spring. Corinth has a long history. After the Dorian conquest, kings ruled, then an aristocracy. But here, as in other Greek cities, the business class took control of the government. This is why there were so many dictators in 7th century Greece. In 655 BC, Cypselus seized power. His 30-year rule made Corinth prosperous. His son Periander was one of the longest reigning dictators in Greek history. He established order, checked exploitation, encouraged business, patronized literature and art, and made Corinth the foremost city in Greece. He stimulated trade by establishing a state coinage and promoted industry by lowering taxes. He solved the crisis of unemployment by undertaking great public works and establishing colonies abroad. He protected small businessmen from the competition of large firms by limiting the number of slaves that might be employed by one man and forbidding their further importation. He relieved the wealthy of their surplus gold by compelling them to contribute to a colossal golden statue as an ornament for the city. His enemies were numerous and powerful. He dared not go out without a heavy guard, and his fear and seclusion made him morose and cruel. The dictator lived to a ripe old age, and after his death was numbered by some among the 7 wise men of ancient Greece. A generation after him, the Spartans overthrew the dictatorship at Corinth and set up an aristocracy. Nevertheless, it was upon trade that the wealth of Corinth was based, and its main attraction was the temple of Aphrodite. It was a common matter in Corinth to dedicate to Aphrodite's temple women, who served her as prostitutes and brought their fees to the priests. The temple of Aphrodite, says Strabo, was so rich that it owned more than 1,000 temple slaves, courtesans whom both men and women had dedicated to the goddess. And therefore, it was also on account of these women that the city was crowded with people and grew rich. For instance, the ship captains freely squandered their money here. The city was grateful and looked upon these hospitable ladies as public benefactors. The courtesans had a religious festival of their own, the Aphrodisia, which they celebrated with piety and pomp. St. Paul, in his first epistle to the Corinthians, denounced these women, who still in his time plied their ancient trade. In 480, Corinth had a population of 50,000 citizens and 60,000 slaves, an unusually high proportion of freemen to slaves. South of Corinth was another city, Argos. The Argives said their city was founded by Argos, a hero with 100 eyes. It flourished under Danaus, an Egyptian who came with a group of Danans and taught the locals to irrigate their fields. Under Temenus, one of the returning Heraclidae, Argos grew into the most powerful city of Greece, bringing Tyrannus, Mycenae, and all Argolis under its sway. We don't know much about Argos after it was annexed. Some Argives may have gone to Syracuse with the Corinthian founders. Vases of Argive style were found there, but Argos was not involved in the colonizing movement. The reason was presumably that it had enough land for her citizens. In 680, Phaedon seized control of the government. He was the 10th successor to Temenus, the founder of Argos. He ruled over the whole Argolid Peninsula in northeast Peloponnese. He was a strong and energetic ruler. He increased the power of Argos. He gathered the pieces of Temenus' empire and united most of the cities of Argolida and Aegina. Then Argos defeated Sparta decisively at the Battle of Hysiae in Thyreatis, and went on to support the Pisatons in expelling the Eleans from Pisatis and taking control of the Olympic festival in 668. It is probable that Phaedon was the originator of hoplite phalanx and used this formation in the Battle of Hysiae. Under him, Argos was the dominant city-state in all of the Peloponnese. Phaedon adopted the Babylonian system of weights and measures and the Lydian plan of a currency guaranteed by the state. He established his mint on Aegina, and its coins became the first official coinage in continental Greece. Phaedon died in a fight in Corinth. After he died, Argos was weakened by wars with Sparta. It had to give up its position as leader of the Peloponnese to the Spartans. But Phaedon's enlightened despotism opened a period of prosperity that brought many arts to Argolis. In the 6th century, the musicians of Argos were the most famous in Greece. Lassus of Hermione was a famous lyric poet and taught his skill to Pindar. The Argive school of sculpture was founded here, and drama was performed in a theater with 20,000 seats. Another Greek city was Sparta, south of Argos. But we'll talk about it in the next program. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss it.